So this is one of our leaders at a Fresh Stop Market in the Portland neighborhood, and you see all the beautiful food, and owned by Joseph and Caleb. And these are the core beliefs of New Roots. And I don't know if anybody has any questions about any of them, or how we came up with them.
Did you say that's a 2-acre farm?
Yeah. 2 acres of vegetables and like 80 acres of cows. Not as nice as Mr. Nick's cows. But they're the ones named after 1980s rock stars. So.
I'd love to know how you came up with these.
Yeah, well, we locked ourselves in a room, our leaders, and we decided, first of all, that if food is one of the main things we need to be happy and healthy and stay alive, how could it be that it's not a basic human right? And how can we walk around Louisville knowing that so many of us don't have food to eat? So this really grabbed us. And then we really love working with local farmers because, number one, the food tastes so much better. And I had a big epiphany also about organic food just a few years ago when we finally had organic supply, and how much better it tastes and how transformative it is for so many of our shareholders who have cancer and inflammatory disease and so many food-related illnesses to start to be eating organic and seeing how much better they feel. But we also have a lot of rural poverty in Kentucky, so it's very important to us to work with rural farmers and help our rural economy. Yeah, and impact. The impact beyond the dinner table, I talked about it just a few seconds ago a little bit. It's bringing the community together. And so, yes, we're very happy to be working around food and rebuilding the food system, but we really want to rebuild our community and have an impact beyond food, and that is through health, for example, better health, relationship building, maybe even romance started at the Fresh Stop Markets, that kind of thing. So,
Is this on your website?
our website is kind of being transformed right now, but it will be.
Okay.
Yeah, and but our social media is up to date. We ran out of money, but to fix the website, but we have someone working on it right now. So, and this is Miss Gwen, who would have loved to come with me. She's one of our 5 staff members. She is part-time and works through the Mature Returning Senior Workers Program through the Louisville Urban League, and she's paid by the Department of Labor to work for us 20 hours a week. So she and Miss Sheila, 2 of my part-time staff, had retired about a year ago, and a year and a half ago now, and they were basically sitting on their couches watching soap operas. That's what she told me. And really bored and sad, and she couldn't afford to be retired. She was in early child learning, and so the Urban League said, we have this program. Would you like to have 2 older adults? And I said, absolutely. And they said, what are the main things you're looking for? And I said, they have to love vegetables, And the Urban League was like, what? I said, yeah, don't worry, you'll get this soon enough. So she's been with New Roots for about a year, and the joke is we're supposed to be training them. It's like really they're really training us, in community organizing. They are amazing community organizers, and she started a door knocking campaign in like January in Kentucky, where it's very cold, because we have a new market coming, and she wanted to start knocking on doors, and she was dragging me through the streets. Like I was like, I want to go home, I'm cold. So, and I'm going to talk about why we do this and then get into the model, because I think this is important. And I don't know if you have similar statistics. In Kentucky, we're always struggling with these kind of statistics, and these are real people, real friends of ours who are suffering very debilitating chronic and food-related and often preventable diseases. And one of the ones that really I'm constantly thinking about is that net vegetable consumption of 7%.
Would you read those?
Yeah, oh, you can see, okay. We're the 5th most unhealthiest state, Kentucky. We're 4th in diabetes, 13.4% of us. 7% eat the required amounts of fruits and vegetables a day. So that means 93% of us don't or can't. So we really are unique. You know, our movement is very, very unique, and sometimes we do feel like unicorns. We're 5th in obesity, 35%. We're 6th in hypertension, 39%. We're 5th in poverty, 19%. 1 in 5 Kentuckians are food insecure. And so it's just really, it's bad. So, and this I know is not so easy to see, but I'm going to explain it. So the fresh stop markets, the way that we start fresh stop markets is when we're contacted by someone from the community. So like, you know, just Deirdre and I talking, you know, something like this, very organically. Sometimes it'll be a church or a church member, a community center, a business. So they'll say, I'm sick and tired, being sick and tired, and we want to work on getting fresh food into the community. So that gets the ball rolling, and then we start to identify leaders in the community, and we do this through grassroots community organizing, going door to door, and institutional organizing. So we do asset mapping, we look at the community and say, who's here? Is a YMCA here? Is there churches here? Synagogue, mosque, business, anything we can come up with, then we start to make phone calls and start to identify leaders. Then we have to raise the money to fund the market. Our entire budget is $250,000. That last year, that was enough money for us to connect 650 families to 10 farmers, do our food justice workshops, do all our community organizing, pay our rent, pay the salaries, pay for the Beatmobile truck and the gas. And then we forecast. So we're about to forecast January 21st with our farmers. And what we do is we invite the whole entire 650 families, and probably 20 people will come. And then we invite the farmers, and then we sit and talk about what vegetables we want the farmers to grow for us. And the community gives feedback on the past season, and then the farmers talk about organic agriculture and what grows good in Kentucky and why they have to grow a variety of vegetables and what grows well in their particular soil, etc. And so we're about to do that. That happens January. And then we have to wait until June 2nd for the food to come. That's why I was so happy to eat that strawberry today, because our food has been gone since the middle of November. And so when I say, that says pop up, so basically the way the fresh stop markets work is that we forecast and then we start organizing. So we start calling all the new contacts we've made, all the old shareholders, so we'll call through the whole list and we'll say, we're ready for you to pool your money for the first share, so the first basket of the season. So when I say share, I mean about 8 to 10 varieties of organic vegetables and fruit comes in a share. And we have a 22-week season, and in each market, we have 8 markets, 8 different locations that pop up bi-weekly in that same location for 22 weeks, so 11 times. So we start to gather all the food stamp cards, so the SNAP benefit cards, and also debit credit cards in our online system. And I'm going to show you, we're going to have a mobile app this coming year. We won a big contest. We competed against 30 other nonprofits, and we won first place, and we had a $75,000 app being made for us by a hipster app agency in Louisville, Kentucky, and it is so amazing. But last year we used Farmigo. Any farmers here have used Farmigo? It's kind of antique, right? Vintage, like, but it worked, and we had everybody everybody's information in the system. So we're gonna start early this year. It's software that you go, you make a profile and you put your credit card in or Snap card, and then we collect that first share price. We have an income-based sliding scale. So that means that depending on how much money you're bringing in and how many people in your family, that's what you pay. And it's all an honor system. We don't check any paperwork at all. So if you're on SNAP, you automatically pay $6 for your share, because we do Kentucky Double Dollars. We have that grant. I don't know that if you have the Double Dollar grant here. You do. So the Finney grant.
Yeah.
It's our third year coming that we have the Finney grant, and we spent $8,000. Like, we were the highest user of the Finney grant in the state, more than the farmers markets. And if you're not on SNAP, but you're a limited resource, according to, we have this payment scale that we use the WIC eligibility guidelines of 185% of poverty, and you pay $12. So if you're on WIC, Social Security, disability, or whatever, and again, we don't check anybody, anything, so, and people don't really abuse the system that we can tell, you know, and if they did, it's not that much. If you're higher income, so you're not in those two categories, you pay $25, and you can pay $40, which is the food justice price. We just say, put more money in the pot so everybody can eat. And all that money's pooled, and magically, 70% of our shareholders are in the $6 and $12 range. The 30% are in the 25 and 40, and it all evened out last season to $19 per share, and that's exactly what we pay the farmers per share. So we broke even for the first time in 10 years. Yay! And it paid off. So yeah, so the pricing is negotiated January 21st, so when we sit down, they show us the price list. We usually accept every price they give us. We let them name the price. It's in between wholesale and retail. So it's a little bit more toward wholesale. I showed it to some of your farmers today. They thought it was a really good price. They were like, yeah, that's really good. You know, so like for example, $2.50 a pound for green beans, or $2 for a big bunch of kale. Sometimes $1.25 for potatoes, so these are kind of a little bit above, and everybody can have access to any of this information, it's all online. So, let's see, so the popping up happens over 5 months. I understand your growing season is 9 months. So,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
About,
Could be 12 months.
Yeah.
it could be 12 months.
Yeah, peas and okra go in the summertime. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a short growing season. We have strawberries that come May 21st is our Strawberry Jam Festival. I have a little video of it. Because our strawberries come so far ahead of everything else, we have to have a special strawberry fresh stop. And we sell gallons of strawberries for $3 and for, how much is it? $14 a gallon. For one Kentucky farmer, we bought $4,500 worth of strawberries in one order. So it was about, yeah, so we pre-sell those, and that festival pops up, and we have everything strawberry. Strawberry fairies, strawberry princesses, strawberry smoothies, strawberry, chocolate covered strawberry, vegan strawberry ice cream. And then we wait until June 2nd to pop up that first market. And what we do is we have, we pop up Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of each week. So it just keeps going and going. And when I say pop up, you've seen a few of the pictures. We come in a truck with our tents and tables and chairs and containers. And then we come to the location that we're going to be at for the whole season every other week. And then we have volunteer leaders lead us there 2 hours before the market. So if the market starts at 4:30, they come at 2:30. Everybody gathers, puts everything up. The farmers have already dropped off the food that we've ordered the previous Friday. We say we have, 60 families coming here, 120 families coming here. We have an average of 110 families per pop-up. And so we display everything very beautifully. It's, who was I telling Anna about, I go crazy if anything is bagged, like nothing gets bagged, because I feel like this food should look so beautiful. It should make people so happy when they pull up or walk up or get off the bus. That's my community food, that's my food. And so we really spend a lot of energy putting out little green, cardboard containers and making sure they're all kind of equal, and of the potatoes or the beets or whatever. The only thing we bag is green beans because I couldn't figure that one out. Count them. I couldn't count them. I ran out of time.
Do you cite the pop-ups with consideration of public transportation?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, in fact, or like where people are living, like we move one of our markets kind of closer to downtown because we have a senior home that's like 9 blocks away, so just enough for them to walk, with the carts and buses and but some places like where at the Jewish Community Center, it's very difficult to get a bus out there. It's two miles from any grocery store. And so some of our folks take what's called TARC 3. It's a bus that you have to reserve with the bus company, the public bus company. But we have a lot of people. We have bike riders, bus drivers, and then people carpool. And then we have people who can't get out of the house at all for either because of age or because of health. So we have teams of volunteer leaders or me or somebody dropping those shares off. And sometimes you even have to put it in the refrigerator, and so that's
Is that a small percentage or?
Small percentage, because we really want people to come to the market, because there's social isolation is one of the main social determinants of health and determined in Louisville, that people are so lonely, especially older adults, so we really don't like to deliver unless they can't get out at all, or something happens, like their car has a flat tire.
Who are your volunteers?
So our volunteers are shareholders. So I had a goal of 90%, I think this year, that our volunteers would come from our shareholder base, and I made it, because when people try to come volunteer and they're not shareholders, it's extremely awkward. And it feels more like a dichotomy between the people coming to get the food and then the people who are volunteering. If you're a shareholder, you're invested, so you're there and you love the food too, and you're bringing home that food. So when you are behind one of the vegetables, advocating for those vegetables, because every vegetable, the perfect fresh out market world, has a volunteer behind the vegetable, cheering the vegetable on, advocating for the controversial ones like eggplant, kohlrabi. And it's really, really key to the model. Totally key, because a lot of us have been isolated from local food, and we don't know what this food is, some of the younger families. Some of the older folks like me, we've been traumatized by the way, our family might cook the vegetables, like boiled them until they tasted, nasty. So this is very important that your other shareholders are exchanging knowledge with you about that. But we have some exceptions, like we have a church that doesn't want to eat the food. It's a higher income church, and my main leader at the old Louisville Fresh Out Market downtown loves that church and loves that they come help and doesn't care that they don't buy the shares. And I'm afraid of her. She's like a Navy vet. She's my best friend. But it's awkward. Every time I walk in, I'm like, oh. So if the students want to come, we welcome the students, but we talk them into buying shares. Except if they live in the dorms, and so.
Can you talk about how you get the word out about, is it all door knocking, or is it word of mouth, or how do people find out about it?
Well, it's at this point, it's a lot of word of mouth, because we've been at it 10 years. But in the beginning, we were doing the kind of hybrid door knocking versus like institutional organizing. One of the things we started, and there was a picture of the guy, is a partnership with the private sector. So cross-sector partnership. So 3 years ago, I got a call from a guy who owns a janitorial services company. And he is a B Corp. So a public benefit corporation is a corporate designation in Kentucky. You may even have one here in Florida. If we have one, for sure you guys must have one, right?
Well, we have a number of them.
Right.
Sweetwater Coffee is one.
Oh,
It's a B Corp.
You saw that?
Yeah,
Sweetwater
today.
at Worms.
Yeah. said, oh, cool, good. So we have, I think, maybe 10 of them in Kentucky. So that means that they can have a triple bottom line of social, environmental, and fiscal responsibility without getting penalized, by their board of directors or shareholders or whatever. And so this guy owns this company, and he bought a warehouse in the neighborhood where our offices, where we never had a market, because it just hadn't come up. Nobody had asked us. And he has 850 janitors that he pays hourly, and they don't yet pay a living wage. They are about $10 an hour, and I think living wage in Louisville is 15, but we don't have a living wage ordinance, but he's trying to get there. So in the meantime, he, as part of his certification to be a B Corp, he surveyed all of his employees, and the number one thing that came back on the needs was access to fresh food and better health. So he called us and really pestered us for a long time. He's like, I don't know, like, this sounds weird. But eventually, we made him volunteer at an existing market, and then bring him and his leadership, bring the food back to the warehouse. So when they picked up their paychecks, they picked up the food, and he pays 80% of the share price, and they pay 20%. And he pays the higher end of the sliding scale of 25, so it's good for us, good for the whole community, there's more money in the pot. So they pay $5, he pays $20, and we pop up at his business over a lunch hour. Most of our markets are 4:30 to 6:30 after work and school, but this is a lunch hour because we're like in a warehouse district, and it's amazing. There's 60 janitors, 60 employees, they come, and then we invited the coffee company, our coffee company, Jaime Brothers. He buys 10 shares, and then he said, invite the whole community. So it's a big market now, 120 families. And it pops up in this gorgeous courtyard. Some pictures. So now I'm really excited to find more businesses, but I can't really seem to find anybody like this guy in Louisville, for real. And he surveyed his employees after the fact, the last 2 years. And questions like, would you stay, do you want to stay working for FMS because of programs like this? Yes. How likely are you to tell your friends and families, like up to the 9 out of, or the 10? It's really been popular. Does that make sense?
What is door knocking like when you're door knocking around food?
Yeah, it's sometimes a little weird, but we knock on the door, we have a survey, like a really quick survey, and we just say, hey, we just want to talk about like fresh food in the neighborhood, like what do you think? And then they say, there's no fresh food here, like, do you like vegetables? Yeah, I love vegetables, but I can't afford them, I can't get them. And what would you think if we had a market here? It's a fresh stuff market. Either they know about fresh stuff market, or they go, what's that? And then can we have your information? Yes, absolutely. So we get their information. So we showed up at all the Christmas light up Louisville events in the neighborhood, so we got a lot of people interested in that. But it is a little awkward, but you meet such nice people, we met one of our key new leaders just walking down the street. We bumped into him and he's like, what are you doing? And now he's going to be one of our key leaders for the new market.
Are you worried, or are you making plans for the administration's decision to cut
The food stamps.
Yeah, what are people going to do?
Well, it's just so horrible.
This
I know.
will really impact.
Yeah, I'm gonna figure it out for sure. I'll raise the money. Well, one of the things, maybe someone in this room knows this. Remember, we thought we were gonna ask this question. So if you're a senior, older adult on Social Security in Louisville, you get $15 a month on food stamps. Is that the same here? $15.
Those that qualify only get $10 here.
How much?
$10.
So already, Nancy, so already it's really difficult. It's crazy, and a lot of our folks are older adults, so already it's like sometimes we just don't take it,
Forgive me if I missed this part, but so you set up the fresh shop markets almost like a farmer's market. So you've bought from all the farmers, you've aggregated the product and lay it out like a farmer's market, and the shareholders then come and say, okay, I can take 10 items of any of this, right? And then they take their share, and then, so you contract with farmers in advance to say, you're gonna grow green beans, you're
Yes.
gonna grow potatoes and sweet, okay.
We have it all, organized by January, yeah. 80%, well, like 70% of our food comes from one 22-acre farm, organic. 10% from another, 10% from another, and the rest is fruit orchards.
And when you have it displayed, do you label which farm it came from?
Absolutely, this is a good question, so you'll see the signs, so the chalkboard has the name of the farm, the county, is it organic, and how many to take. So that's the main connection.
Then, are you then an organic handler? Like, do you have?
Don't go.
Is that gonna incriminate me?
Don't go.
Never mind. Nobody ever asked that question, what was that?
Cause like the health department's afraid of me. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
But, we don't really hit, like, in other words, the farmers drop it off and the shareholders come and take care of it all. We're like,
Yeah.
we're kinda in between in that we hold the bank account for all the shareholders. It's under our EIN, it's separate than our other operating fund. All that money gets pooled ahead of time. There's no risk, there's no waste. Everybody's happy because everybody knows they're gonna get food, who's a shareholder. Volunteers know where to go. The farmers get paid. Every Friday, the money drops from our account into their account, and it's just very clean, you know?
So you said the food is dropped off ahead of time before like the tents and everything are set up. So do you have partnerships with like local institutions where you can house some of this?
Yeah, so like if it's a church, it goes inside in the air conditioning.
Okay.
And we set up inside that particular church. We set up at a similar place to this, which is like so awesome, right? It's a kitchen incubator. We set up outside, but they have a walk-in cooler for their people, so they put it in there.
Okay.
So it's either in the air conditioning or inside a cooler.
And this is just through partnership, there isn't necessarily they don't charge a fee associated with it or anything?
No.
It's just, okay.
No.
Okay.
Are all your markets on the same day of the week or
No.
different days of the week?
We tried that in the past, like doubling, and it's really too much. So we have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like that.
And
So-
and the farms delivering them to the location, or you are retrieving from the farm?
They deliver Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays because they have CSA drops. So they don't have to do anything extra. And we go get the food on Wednesday, like we did last year, because our main farmer has a CSA drop in Lexington, 70 miles away, it was just too much. And this is the really cool thing. So Rootbound Farm is our main farmer with 70% of the share. And they, when we tell them how many people are coming for the next week, we put it on a Google Doc. We don't even talk to each other, you know? Because everybody's so busy, so we start populating the Google Doc. They start texting the other two farmers and say, what do you have? So they're cooperating with each other and not competing. And sometimes it gets a little awkward, like for example, they could say to one of the farmers, you know, what do you got? And they say, I have kale, and we're going to say, we have kale. And we're the ones who they forecasted with for the kale. Well, but I got a lot of kale. Okay, well, we'll do the college, you know. So they're all friends, you know, it's a small community, you know, and so they're able to coordinate that way. And then we have the right to go out and buy fruit because people love fruit so much, but we don't have a lot of fruit. It's a bad fruit growing state. Kentucky and Indiana just, you know. And then, so they start populating the spreadsheet until it makes $19 per share. So we start to see it on Friday afternoon, so we know what we're getting Friday afternoon for the next week. So it'll start to appear like we got potatoes, yay, you know, or the tomatoes, yay. And then we start to tell the shareholders what's coming so that they can start planning in their minds. And that will be, the app will make that a lot easier.
I have two questions. One for the wholesale buying of fruit, like how have you decided about that and with whom? And then secondly, for the shareholders, how much say do they have in what they're receiving for the week and how much
That's a really good question. So they were all invited to come in January 21st to have a say. They were also told they could email their suggestions. We did a survey already with their suggestions. One of the main things that came up is 25% of shareholders are struggling to get through this year. They feel like it's too much food. And it's interesting, like as a vegetarian, like I'm an empty nest. My daughter's in college, so since she left, I'm eating that share alone over 2 weeks, and I get through it, you know, but I eat a lot of vegetables, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you know, and it's hard for people at first to get into that, you know. And so, what we do is we try to give some choice in that, like, if potatoes are coming, send some purple and send some white. So some people really are, like, just, the purple just is too odd, you know? And so people won't eat white potatoes, so we send both. And I'll answer the food questions.
Can you talk a little bit about the community? You talked about the seesaw, and you talked a lot about the food, but Miranda, can you talk a little about the community building and the bridge building and how having that cooperative economics and bridges divides and creates community in the rural areas?
Absolutely. Okay, and then, the fruit question. So it has been difficult. I stalked people at farmers markets for years, trying to figure out where the fruit was, word of mouth. I finally this year found an apple orchard through the small natural grocery store town, had the name on the tag. I was like, who are these people? And they're 2 hours north in Indiana. So I called them up. They said, we're not organic, we're integrated pest management. And I tried their apples, and they are the most delicious apples I've ever eaten. So they come in to deliver to the grocery store, so they deliver to us. And it's only 76 cents a pound. Yeah, so we buy a lot of those apples when we can, you know, for like 2 of the rotations, you know. So, you know, the question, such a good question about community. And I think, let me change the picture, so maybe there's a picture of somebody to talk about here.
And I'm not working. Okay.
I'm just gonna sit over here so I can hear
You want
Oh,
to-
there it is, okay, here it is. All right, this is the Portland market I talked about at the business. We're inside the warehouse because it's raining. This is one of our shareholders. He's also one of the janitorial leaders in one of the hospitals in Bardstown, Kentucky, and he's a pastor. His name's Alonzo Malone, and I've known him for years. He's also a chef in a previous life and a culinary enthusiast, so he's doing the cooking demo. So every market has a cooking demo that is totally vegan, halal, and kosher, and no sugar, so we make everybody happy, and using the vegetables. And then when he volunteers to do that ahead of time, he then sends us the recipe, and we have it printed for the shareholders when we get there.
Could you read those?
Yeah, and then we'll talk about, yes. So the key components of the model are that it's community driven, that the community is making the decisions with our staff leadership, and that they're holding, you know, that our market managers, so we hire market managers and pay them, that they're from that community, and that we are in fresh food insecure neighborhoods. So we only are, like, if somebody wants us to set up a neighborhood that has a lot of restaurants and grocery stores, we're not gonna go there. And that it's income based. This is really key, so that everybody can eat, and that we're SNAP benefits certified. That's really important.
The market managers that you hire, do you think that those get out of your operating model expenses or?
Yes, and we get a grant from Double Dollar program for that.
So I know that you said, that you allow students, when they're living in the dorm, that they can kind of take one share at a time because I guess they don't have storage.
Or not take, or just take like a pint of cherry tomatoes
So
for the extra
you
tomato.
do allow, I guess, more transient communities who won't be around to say, like, I'm gonna be here for the next 4 months taking, a share each every other week. Like, you do allow, I just need this. Because I'm thinking in our community, in areas that So I'm thinking communities that are less, I guess lucky than I am, where they store that much of theirs, like, I really will not be able to eat this anyway, unless it's food waste, or like, I just want this.
So
So would you allow like individual purchase, or is it like, try to stick to the share program and buy them into it?
because we have such limited resources, since the model has so many moving parts, it's just like one size. However, we have a lot of people who share shares. So a lot of that food gets shared with families. We have a lot of big families in Louisville, and it gets shared. I think, can share some of mine. The other thing is we have extras swap table. And what that is, the farmer sends extra of everything, and we put it on the table. If you don't like something, and your community member cannot convince you to take that butternut squash, even though you can make vegan pudding with it, then we say, okay, put it on the swap table, or take an extra kale or whatever. The other thing is that extra table, people who don't want to buy shares, and we don't have that many people doing this, but some are people who are walking by. And we don't want to they say, what is this? Like, can I buy something? No, because everything's pre-sold. However, there's an extra table, we sell everything for $1. So you can walk away with something. And then we have eggs that we sell for $3.50 a dozen from an amazing farmer in Indiana, and we sell 80 dozen a week.
Wow.
Yeah, people love those eggs. And it took a while, sort of like, what am I doing paying $3.50 a dozen? But we also doubled all of those.
So would you consider opening it up to where people can buy it too? Like when somebody walking by, would you consider opening that up to where they can buy it too at the market?
Yeah, the eggs, yeah.
Yeah, like in the future.
Yeah. They could pre-order or buy them. We take a little bit of a risk with the eggs.
Yeah.
Where we lay out the money, and it's not so scary because I know someone's gonna buy them. Now sometimes we do risk extra shares, so we might put it like 1 or 2 extra shares on the list to the farmers and risk it, knowing people will walk up. We know the markets where we'll, and if we don't, well, it's, we try to sell them to other shareholders. Some shareholders buy 5 shares. They have big families. And some people buy shares and donate them. So we have people who say, I'm going to buy my share, but I want to donate a share. So we have a whole system in Louisville like now, through the fresh up markets. We know the families that really can't afford to pay anything. And a lot of them are older adults in the senior high rises where my friend Barbara lives. So we have to deliver them out to the market, but they love that food, And so I got that church I was complaining about before. I made them buy those shares. Yep. The pre-season commitment to local farmers is very important.
You talked about the farmers set the price, which I respect and applaud. Do you ever go upstream a little bit further to say how are your workers treated on the farm?
Oh,
and is it a
absolutely.
living wage that you pay your workers?
So help me then, do they are
H2A.
H2A.
Yeah.
2 of our farmers have H2A, which are families from Mexico that come. It's a very strict program, right? At least it seems that way in Kentucky. And they've been coming for years, and they're related to the families, the farm that's 60 miles away. And then our third farmer is tiny, Valley Spirit, so it's just family members. He doesn't hire anybody. And they're treated very well. And we have the ability to interact with the farmers because we have farm tours where we bring people to the farm. And it's difficult, they don't speak English, but we have translators. So we brought 350 people out to Newfound Farm. Other farmers drove up to be with us, and we did hay rides and everything like that. And so yeah.
What kind of decisions is the community making with new groups?
The basic one is what food we're going to eat. But there's all kinds of other things. Okay, so just today, a shareholder said, I need a map of the food because and he's the one who we go in the house and put the food in the fridge for because he has one thing up off the chair. And what do you want, Bobby? What what are you talking about? I said, once it's in my fridge, like even though I have the sheet that says what's coming in the share, I don't know what's a collard, I don't know what's a turnip, I don't know what's a radish. Oh my God, of course. How did I miss that one? You know, and so he made the decision now for the whole rest of the community that we're gonna do something. And maybe I'll go back to what this was last night on Facebook Messenger, and now maybe he has an idea on how we can do that. But I was thinking we could probably do it through the app. We have these veggie tip sheets with pictures that we got from Just Food in New York City. But then he says, and then he said, well, how do I know what I can eat raw and what I have to cook? So again, we have these tip sheets, which I could have sworn he had, but he probably forgot. But anyway, you know, that we have to get more down, you know, with this food. And we just have to really have more information. So that's an example where the market is cited. Also, we consult the community and ask them what we should do. What else?
I think you organize it every day, and all the shareholders volunteer, so
They're helping
charge
me
us
make
how that runs
Mhm.
and operates.
Yeah, sometimes they'll make smaller decisions, like, look, we wanna separate those purple potatoes from the white potatoes, don't mix those two, you know, it's just a little thing, but it becomes really important. The fruit is very, very much coming from the community. We really want more fruit.
At some point, we talked about variety too, that was a shock to me, that variety was a thing, it was a big deal.
The variety.
Yeah, that you had to help people understand that the variety was important, you can't just get.
Yes, the variety. So we have crowd pleasers in Kentucky: corn and tomatoes. And that's about it. So most people just want to eat those two things. And we can't do it, you know, we just can't do it. It's like you're kind of understanding the model and what it takes to really get these prices, and this commitment is the commitment to variety if we want to eat organically. And we were talking about the biggest challenge we've had have been with new Americans and refugees and immigrants coming from Syria or from Mexico. We are a Catholic charity entry city for refugees. So we have we have like 150 countries represented. And a lot of the refugees are not familiar with the food and they don't want to eat it. So even though they maybe not have the money to buy fresh food, they'd rather, and we even had donated shares for the Syrians when they first came. They didn't want it. It just was too far. You know, if it wasn't like eggplant and peppers and tomatoes, you know, I think it was asparagus that caused a big problem. So just saute it in olive oil and garlic like everything else, you know. And so the variety, that's why it's so important that we don't hand somebody a bag. You know, we have the advocates for the vegetables and everybody communicating with each other. And people really are grateful. So in the survey we did this year, a lot of people wrote one of the things they love the best is eating new vegetables and learning how to cook them in different ways. Just really, not everybody loves that. Some people just will give away their eggplant, but other people really see the light, you know. It's like, eggplant, it's amazing.
I want to make sure we get to your video, so just want to be.
Okay.
I might have missed this, but are people committing to the whole season, or are they signing up week by week, or?
They're committing to the whole season in that theoretically, so their card is in the system and it's automatic recurring. However, they can opt out, and especially now in the new app, for 1 or 2 or 3 because they go on vacation. They could also say, I don't want to do this anymore. But we had a 92% retention rate last year, which the CSA Farmer Movement said that was very high.
I'm just curious whether it was in the beginning of the development of the program or just throughout, what role did the larger institutions in your area play in either supporting you, creating barriers, whether it be a city, a county government, the University of Kentucky?
Unfortunately, very little. And still very little.
How could they have been more supportive?
Right, so what would have been supportive? What would you have liked to see?
Well, for example, like the health department started a farmer's market downtown, which has mostly prepared food.
Okay.
So when they were doing organizing, we said, could you take our flyers around for our market on the street? No, have funding from the city,
Okay.
so that took many years. The university, we tried to get them last year to help their, physical plant janitorial services folks, just like FMS is. Like, nope, not interested.
Would there have been,
I mentioned the city, but, well, the Department of Health should.
I know. The city is our largest funder now, I think it's $25,000 a year, and 10%. We also have grants from a lot of small foundations in Louisville, one being Bourbon, of course. We have a grant to start this new market from Brown-Forman, Jack Daniels. And otherwise, like smaller foundations, like the Hughes Foundation or Lift a Leg, and then individuals. Yeah, it's hard, it's really hard, to try to make this sustainable.
I was just kind of going back to the variety of food conversation, and for me, trying new food, that's okay if I like it, but if I don't, like, well, why do I, so the benefit, when I learned that this is good for inflammation or anti-inflammatory, or a certain vitamin, like chayote, it has no, it's crunchy water, but it has vitamin D and vitamin A, and vitamin A, a bunch of things in it, it's like, so I make a point to eat the chayote when it ripens, and, with my
You need to come be a veggie cheerleader.
So, I think that may be another marketing strategy of like, well, this is really good in this, and that's why you want to eat it.
And the veggie tip sheets do have a little of that, and that would be good for us to kind of share all that knowledge with the volunteers, They'll be more like talking about how to cook it. But that's right, this is really good for inflammation, that's a great idea.
I'm curious, sort of pushing back on an earlier question, what your food justice trainings look like, who they're targeting, and whether they dig into some of the reasons there are disparities in the first place.
Absolutely.
So if you're looking at, for example, the prices that you can get in order to make these things accessible, and what that means for the farmer. And again, I reiterate that I'm glad to hear that the farmers are setting prices, but when you look at like farm labor and food system workers, they're often the ones who are food insecure. And you mentioned the H2A program, and that program in and of itself doesn't allow farm workers the right to organize, and so there's rights and abilities that are taken away from food system workers that would allow them to advocate for better conditions, that then, because they don't have those, end up creating these systems of disparity. I'm wondering about your food justice training and sort of what it covers, what it doesn't, and the scope of it.
This year, we're still kind of getting input from the community. We're gonna do a 5-week, like every Tuesday for an hour and a half. We start out sharing food stories, kind of like I shared my food story about my mom and where I grew up. And then we get into redlining, the history of food apartheid, like how did this start? What happened to the grocery stores? Where'd they go? Why aren't they here? Why are they different from each other depending on where they are? How are they different? And then we also, so we get a lot of history first. Let's see then we talk about food policy, like your question about like the city, what do they do? What does the state do? What do the feds do? So we talk about subsidies to corn and soybeans. We talk about tobacco legacy. We talk about organic farming and farm workers. So all that, we get into all that. But a lot of people they really want to talk about the grocery stores and the horrible disparity in the grocery stores and the school lunch program and the horrible food in the school. Yeah, right, that's at least in our.
How do you maintain accountability to the communities? And then also, it seems like with the building community power, if for whatever reason your program was forced to shut down, would this be able to continue?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, it'd be difficult. It would be difficult without us. I wouldn't say it'd be impossible, but the way we've been able to do this is we've centralized a lot. Like, we have the truck, we used to have separate bank accounts, and then we had disparity amongst our markets if one of the markets had more higher income people, then they had more money than another community. So now the money's pulled across, not only across the city, but across the state. Because we pull with Hazard in eastern Kentucky, Brandenburg in western Kentucky, so all the money is, pooled. So it would be difficult to keep going, which is what worries me about the sustainability in the budget. And
The accountability question.
right. So one of the ways we do that by making sure we have community members on staff. So not only within New Roots, but on our board. We have community members on our board. We have market managers from the community. We also have leadership that we call, like, so when we're doing these food justice workshops, we call our leadership, say, what do you think we should talk about, And the surveys have really helped, because that's been, really eye-opening about, what people are thinking about us, What else do we do? Well, by making sure that the markets couldn't run without volunteer leaders, too,
Well, your retention rates are probably a pretty good indication too of accountability to the community.
Yeah. People, right, that's right. Yeah. We're also really transparent with all of our pricing, like everybody knows pretty much, how many people are coming, what the prices are for everything, which is very transparent about all that, what we pay per, The only thing we're not transparent about is who pays what. That's anonymous.
What happens if like the carrots don't make it, or like, what happens if something fails, like a crop failure?
Of crop failure?
Yeah.
That's a really good question because of global climate change.
Yeah.
So we lost, one of our farmers lost all the carrots.
Yeah.
In the, yeah.
Like the tops, like what about the tops right out on the carrots? Like what do you
Yeah, like he's out of money.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but what if people like so
We buy something else from him.
Okay, yeah, so do the people like what people already expecting carrots, like if you're sure it's the people that already buy it, what do you do then?
If one say again?
What people was expecting carrots, like if people that already bought the shares, like what they was expecting.
Well, they don't, like, we all don't even know what's coming till Friday.
Okay, okay.
So we don't even know we lost the carrots. We never guarantee exactly what's coming.
Okay.
We kind of know after doing this so many years, unless you're new, kind of what's coming, And as you get into it, you're like, oh, I get it. Okay, now it's greens, now it's lettuce, now it's root vegetables. But we try to buy something else from the farmer. If there's, so we lost all our carrots in the spring. All our broccoli burnt. It was 92 degrees during broccoli season, and and people know in that, like, where's the broccoli? Why do I have potatoes again? And then we have to.
Yeah, because I was like, 1 week you gonna have broccoli, but then like next week you think you was gonna have broccoli, but you don't.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of for me that kind of like
Oh, I know it's
yeah, like I had a recipe with the broccoli.
I know. It's also a lesson to the community, it's an education of the community that food doesn't come in the frozen food section and you just pick up what you want. This is like reality. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you have feast and sometimes you have famine, and that's how nature works.
Karen, we wanted to make the suggestion that you let us see the videos, and then maybe we can turn in together, and I'll talk and respond to it and see what other questions we have left for Karen, and whatever questions it raises for us as a community going forward for ourselves, with whatever few minutes we have left.
Sorry about that.
No, that's great.
So while she's doing this, it's some shameless plugs, but while we're watching her video and then afterwards while we're talking, I just want to say 2 things. One is that we actually have a farmer who has an abundance of tomatoes right now, and we're going to have a pop-up shop on Monday from 4 to 6 here. You can pre-order them online. It's a 10-pound box for $25. And you can pre-order them online and then pick it up here and pay, or you can come and it's first come, first serve, whatever's for you, from 4 to 6 on Monday. They're organic local tomatoes from Family Garden. And then the other shameless plug is that she's a hero to me, and like what she's creating in the is amazing, and Working Food is an available resource. So while you're talking and thinking and inspired or not by this model, I hope you'll think about about working food as a place that could help support things like this project. And with that, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
And you'll put the sound on?
Yep.
Just to answer your question quickly before that about community, even though the markets are community-based and most of the people from that market come from that community, there's a lot of moving around on purpose. So in other words, there might be someone who says, I want to meet people in another community, so we have a lot of that crossing going on. And so we are probably some of the most integrated spaces in all of Louisville. And especially that Jewish Community Center market is amazing. It's Muslims, Jews, Black, Chinese, Mexican, it's just an incredible place. But they're all incredible, but that one is one of my favorites because it is so diverse. Okay, this is one of my favorite videos, the Watermelon Brigade. And the next one next to it.
Y'all need to learn how to throw watermelon.
I
One by one.
How much time do we have? Mr. Humphrey?
Well, I'm just amazed at what is in the box. I had kale, bok choy, spinach, collards, turnips, radishes, scallions, two beautiful bags of lettuce, and it's amazing for the price, what I can do with it.
Yep. I was getting ready to say with some croutons or something like. Yep. Yep.
What kind of sauce is this, Chef Miracle?
Just simple tomato and red pepper.
So you made it with the aromas from today's share?
Yes, yes.
And the red pepper?
Yes.
What's the chef
Yeah,
about?
everything always is what's here. I don't know, I'm an aspiring chef, so I don't know what they know, what they don't know, so I just keep it very simple.
And you roasted it?
Yeah, well, the squash, yes, I roasted it.
Look at that. Spaghetti squash, you can use that like spaghetti, right?
Yep, that's basically what I did, just replace the spaghetti squash for the spaghetti.
This beautiful salad.
Everything is here.
This is long, but I'll just give, these are some of our leaders in the food justice workshop. There's a original Black Panther from Evansville, Indiana.
she drives to Indiana to go to the store. Because you cannot find decent produce, fruits in this neighborhood.
Providing farms with a market that wasn't available before, and it just kind of meets the need for a lot of small farmers out there selling produce to markets that were accessible previously at a good price.
And so it's really weird because like you go to my house, I haven't seen in the house, but then you remember the same thing.
Should we, wrap it up?
Well, I think what Deirdre was proposing was maybe we, I mean, we can continue the Q&A as long as we want. And I would love to keep the conversation going, but, I don't wanna hold up folks either, so if folks feel like they need to go, we wanna give people space to do that, but also, I think we're open to continuing the conversation and facilitating dialogue amongst each other and, you know, sharing ideas as well as talking or asking questions, just sharing the questions people have for each other too, so, but I do wanna, before we close, just say a big thank you to Karyn for being here, for making the time to come. This is a quick thing, but I hope you're as inspired as some of us have been by her model, and I'll turn it over to her if she has any last comments or thoughts. And does anybody here have any other quick thoughts or questions that they have before? And I think this.
It's a good question.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, maybe we can circle up and talk to each other too. I mean, I feel like this model lends itself to a community conversation and a community dialogue, yeah.
So there's a question here, is that being considered for our community?
We're having to
We are our
consider it
community.
for us.
You know, we are our community. I think that's the whole point of this model, right? And that's what inspires me by it, is that it's like of the people, by the people, for the people, right? Like, it's the volunteers, it's the people that are shareholders that are organizing it and are doing it and are showing up to put the fruit out. And so, I mean, I think we as Working Group have resources we could use with the building. You know, we have a cooler. We have lots of farmers in our community. We're really lucky to have organic farmers right here, and we got a couple in the room. At least one right here. We got a couple small farmers. Yeah.
I was just gonna say the Economic Development Working Group, part of the Food Systems Coalition that has recently formed, is entertaining ideas about models that we can replicate. So if anybody wants to participate on that working group, Carissa is the woman with the email list, and so she can put you in touch with us who are on the Economic Development Working Group, and we can. Lenny is on it.
Yeah, everybody here.
Everybody on that working group is here, so.
If folks want to join that, and I know we've got some crews that have been talking about stuff as well, so. Yeah, I mean, we're it, let's do it.
Food Systems Coalition is open to anybody who's interested, so.
We meet the last Wednesday of the month.
Fourth Wednesday of every month here, 10 a.m.
to noon.
I will leave my card.
And this space is available for organizing too, so it's not just the doing, but if folks need a space to meet, to talk, to think, we can open the doors for just gathering and talking. So if you can't make it to a 10 o'clock meeting, if you want to get together in an evening or a weekend, or, we just need some heads up and we can make the space available. That's why we built it. So, well, not literally built it, but borrowed it from somebody for money and roof and all. Yeah? All right.
What's the next step?
I know, what's the next step, folks? Who's ready? Yeah.
One thing that Karyn, so yesterday we had the opportunity to go to John Nick's multi-generational African-American farm out in Rochelle. And one of the things, I think one thing that's dear to my heart. You know, I'm not a farmer, I just like good food, but I like history. So I'm interested to see how whatever it is we build going forward reconnects us to the historical food system that was here for a lot of years. I mean, a lot of black farmers lost lands. A lot of rural farmers lost land. So, and that's also connected to schooling and education and people's, and what they know about themselves as a Southern person, as a rural person, you know, and it makes such a difference in how you see yourself. So I'm throwing that conversation, that question starter out there to everyone to say, yeah, I'm all about a new food system, but I'm also really interested in what do we know about the food system that was here 100 years ago, 75 years ago, that we've disrupted, and how can we start to build in the way that those people would have wanted us to or want us to now.
Pete, what was the name of the farm or shop?
This was John Nick's family farm, and I mean, there's Len. Is your first name Lenny? Lenny. He's in the back. He's another family of historical farmers. Yeah. So we've got new CSAs, one of which I'm a member of, and I love it. But we've also got these historical farmers who are now no longer bringing their product to market in the kinds of ways that they would like to. Really. So how do we recreate a system that respects those? What John Nix knows is frankly astounding. It's just astounding. So I feel some debt to that history and to those communities, as well as to those of us now who are like, let's eat healthy, good, and live a long time.
So Deidre, where would you get those stories? John Nix is still alive to tell some, but would the Matheson have some?
No, the Matheson would, and I'd say that laughingly because—
where do you get the history if you don't know it?
Well, you ask people. I mean, part of one of the projects that we're working on, Working Food and me through the Center for the Study of Race and Race Relations, and some more people I'm sure in this room will be involved in it, Tara in the back and Lemon. We're trying to gather that historical information and use some kind of research approach to thinking about food justice going forward. It's not there yet. So if the question is it readily available so all of us can read through histories and accumulate that knowledge? No, it's not. But thinking historically and just thinking generationally about food and food justice was really my point. Like, let's remember that there's a legacy.
The museum in DC, the Epicenter Museum, in the dining room, they had food stories on the wall, and it was amazing. And I thought we need to capture that here and do some kind of interpretation.
Were you gonna say something? No, I thought you said okay.
I would say too, like there's a question of resources, like, you know, where Karyn disappeared. She says she had a $250,000 budget, you know, most of that goes to the farmers, it's food related, right? But there's administration, and you know, I do think that I may speak only because I don't belong to any of these institutions except for IFAS, and I'm a peon in that institution compared to the people who make the decisions and wield the pocketbooks. But I would say that I do feel like there's this energy in our institutions here of a desire to do something well. I know that historically they haven't done something well, but I really believe that there's an interest in figuring it out, and they feel challenged because consistently, recently anyway, they ask and they don't necessarily know which answers they're getting are the right answers. But I think if collectively we can come together with good proposals like a model like this, or whatever model we decide is right for our community, and we put it forward in the right way, i.e. a grant proposal that, you know, we can help write and things like that. Like, I think we can get the resources that we need to create whatever administration is needed to organize things like this, right? So I just want people to feel inspired to tell these stories, to create these to dare to dream what's possible, and at least I commit myself to helping to try to write that story down and give it to people who can give us the resources we need to make this happen. You know, so I don't want money to be the thing or time to be the thing that limits us from being able to make this happen. So when she said, like, how are we gonna do this? I know I said, like, we're the people, but then I know all of us are busy, and I know many of us have to work to provide for our families, so I just throw that out there too.
So I read recently, in the town of Baldwin, near Jacksonville, they found themselves in a situation where the entire town had no grocery store. And the city itself, started one, right? So the sole provider of like groceries in Baldwin, they use, fresh food from local farms, is state-owned. And I think that offers like sort of an appealing, at least to me personally, an appealing alternative in that there's more permanence to it, and it's literally owned by everyone in the community. It's owned by the local government, the leaders can be directly elected. And I think that particularly when we take into account, like Deidre was saying, that there were food systems before and they weren't, they were stolen. And the people who stole them are still in power. They didn't disappear on their own, they were taken. And we live under the system still that took them. And I think that's important to keep in mind.
I do want to mention that I have a grant through the Southern SARE